Alright, so this is based off of a conversation I had with Melina Pendulum. And before I go any further, this inspiration for this video goes all to her. She inspired me to do this video because she made a very good point. We were talking about Legend of Korra and Young Justice. And before I go any further with this video, allow me to say first that I do love Legend of Korra and Young Justice. In fact, I'm loving the second season more than the first season. Not to say the first season was bad, I'm just saying I liked it. I'm liking where they're going with the second season more than the first season. But she did bring up this point, and this is something I'm going to address here. And again, I'm going to explain myself further. Basically, it's the shipping on both shows and any animated show you see these days. It's basically thrown in your face over and over again. Now, you're probably wondering, well, in several videos, Zilla, you've talked about how relationships kind of help the character progress. Yes, that's true. Relationships help, but they're not the main thing. They don't always have to be the main thing. I said they help build the character. That doesn't necessarily mean you absolutely need them in there. You can do it without the relationships to develop a character, and that falls into what I'm going to be talking about. And the biggest two that have this crime are Legend of Korra and Young Justice. Preferably Season 1 of Young Justice, and a little bit of Season 2, but I'll get onto that. Starting with Legend of Korra. The thing with Legend of Korra when it comes to the pairing thing and the oversaturation of the love interest between Mako and Korra is like, you don't need to build this. The show does not need to build this up. We know it's going to happen. Let's face it, we all knew Korra and Mako were going to hook up after the second episode where they were both looking out from their homes and looking out to the sea and kind of looking at each other's homes from afar. We kind of figured right there, boom, Mako and Korra. And we all knew, but the problem was they kind of just kept wanting to build it up and put pressure on the characters just for the sake of it, rather than focus more on Korra's training or anything. And the other thing was, this really hurts the character of Asami. I say this because Asami could be a very cool character, and don't say she couldn't be. Asami could be. She couldn't. Don't say she couldn't be, because she could. Because let's face it, Avatar is notoriously known for having strong female characters. Even June, who only appeared in 2 episodes, came off as a very strong character. But Asami, when they brought her in, all she does in this entire first season, and I don't know where they're going to take her with season 2, is basically she's just there to complete this love triangle that is kind of pointless. And I feel like that really goes back on a lot of the character development on all the female characters in the Avatar series. Of course, I'm referring to Last Airbender. And you can't really say, oh, well, it's 12 episodes. You can't get all of that down in 12 episodes. Bullshit. I call bullshit on that. Because I have seen animes, and among other shows, in just 12 episodes or even less, get these characters down that they have in their shows, develop them, and progress with the story, and do very well with it. Case in point, Dead Man Wonderland. 12 episodes. Boom, got the story done. Every character got his own arc, his or her arc. I don't know if they're going to do a second season or not, but I'm not here to discuss that. But in 12 episodes, it pretty much got a proper, at least this season, I hope it gets a second season, that season down with 12 episodes of Dead Man Wonderland. But with Korra, it just feels like they're just trying to be like, are you shipping them yet? It's just taking a sledgehammer to your forehead with this. And it feels really bad for Asami because you could do so much more with this. They could do so much more with this character. Hell, in the previous episode, the newest episode, they pretty much addressed. Asami herself addressed, what is my point on the team now? Mako clearly loves Korra more than me, so when the character itself addresses how pointless why he or she is there, you're doing something wrong. Again, I'm not bashing on the show, and it's a very good show, don't get me wrong, but I have to call a flaw when I see it. Now, I personally feel like they're throwing the relationship out there a little too much far. I mean, with this, we could have already gotten a development with a little more of Amon. I would have liked to see a little more character development of Amon, because that's all we know, even if that really is his backstory, and among other things, I would have liked to delve more into that character. I mean, Azula got a lot of screen time. We got to see her rise and fall as a character, but with Amon, we just know he's the threat. He's just the antagonist for being the antagonist. We know why Azula is mentally messed up, because she had an let's face it, she pretty much had an inferiority complex when it came to her mother's love. She felt like she had a bit of an inferiority complex, and among other things. But with Amon, I felt like they could have done more, but nope, got to do with the drama. And that even kind of hurts Bolin as well. In fact, in the newest episode, when Asami asks about the relationship between what's going on between Mako and Korra, he pretty much comes out and says, "Yeah, they kind of kissed." And I was like, "Really, dude? You forgot the number one rule: bros before hoes." Seriously, man. And that really, like, Mako's just there to be Sokka light, and I like Bolin. Bolin's one of my favorite characters next to, I'm going to come out and say, Amon's my favorite character, even though, yeah, I wish they did more development with him, but he's still awesome in his own right. But yeah, I felt with the relationship thing, it just felt like it's just there for trying to do drama, and just for shipping for the sake of shipping. Because that's what I really feel like shows are the creators of shows are trying to cater to, the love interest. And I feel like that doesn't need to go down that route. I mean, let's take a look at Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes. You hardly see any kind of love interest within those shows. The closest ones you get are between Hawkeye and Black Widow and Ant-Man and Wasp. And they don't even throw it in your face. They don't even, do entire episodes dedicated to them. They just hint at it and build with it, because we know they hooked up. We know as comic book readers, we know they hooked up, and there's so much other story to tell. They didn't really need to focus on the relationship aspect of the Avengers. They didn't need that. They had it in there. Of course, they had it in there, but they didn't focus on it, and that's where I feel like where it kind of comes down. Another good example of this, Gargoyles. Gargoyles had, yes, it had love in it, but it wasn't always the main focus. Keyword, wasn't always the main focus. The thing between Goliath and Elisa, we knew it was there, and sometimes they focused on it, but it wasn't like every single episode it was Goliath and Elisa and their relationship wackiness. You see what I'm saying? It doesn't need to be like that, It doesn't. I feel like creators these days are trying to cater to the only way I feel like these creators, and and let me explain myself. I feel like the only reason why they're trying to do this is just to get at a demographic. They're trying to get at a demographic like just for the sake of pairings. Apparently drama brings in teen love drama brings in viewers. And that's where I feel like it hurts, because that's where they spend most of their time with these shows. And I refer to Young Justice first season was because most, and a keyword most, of the character development from the, some, not most, but some, if not a lot of, the character development of Miss Martian was based on her love for Superboy in the first season. In fact, when she revealed herself as a white Martian, what was her biggest fear? Her biggest fear of Connor turning her down. Am I right? It wasn't because the League couldn't trust her, or her friends were afraid of her. That was her biggest fear. And then we find out a few episodes later that, Superboy knew and it was no big deal. And I'm liking where they're going. Let me say this. In Season 2, I'm liking where they're kind of taking the fallout of the was relationship between McGann and Connor, because that is a dick move McGann pulled. I'm not gonna lie. That is the biggest dick move ever, of trying to make Connor forget the sight of her basically putting the enemies into catatonic states forever. So I gotta call it as I see it, guys. But with Young Justice, the other thing with Artemis at least had a few episodes where it wasn't really focused. There was a love interest between Wally and Artemis, and I will admit the thing between Wally and Artemis was handled a bit better than the Connor and McGann stuff, because every time McGann had an episode to herself, it was mostly because of her love for Connor, and very few with the rest of the stories. But with Artemis, she had her own. At the first few times we saw her, she had her own episode, she had her own backstory, and then it kind of fell into Kid Flash. She felt love for Kid Flash. And that was the other thing. And here's another thing. When they brought on, for the short time, Rocket to the team, what was the first thing she did? She sized up Aqualad. Alright? And then, with Zatanna, what'd they do? Zatanna comes in, boom, with Robin. With Cheshire and Red Arrow. That I can forgive, because that not only that, it's in the comics. Second, well, I'll have to say was in the comics because of the relaunch, but second is because they just hinted at it. You know, we knew that may or may not happen, but it basically happened. You know, they found out they had a daughter, and the 5-year time skip, they were married. I guess because they said they were or were not married anymore. Another good show that had, and you know what bothers me about Young Justice, about the whole relationship thing, is because I've seen Greg Weisman and his crew do so much better with female characters, like case in point, Spectacular Spider-Man. There were episodes dedicated to Pete's love for, Gwen and Liz, when he was dating both of them. But it wasn't always in your face, and even some love towards Mary Jane, for the most part. But it mainly focused, but then again, that's kind of what Peter Parker is. He's a guy, in the beginning, he was kind of like a guy who was looking for love. And I can respect that, but it also focused on Peter as a character. And like I said, the relationship thing can help the character development of a certain character or characters, but it can also hurt it. Let's face it, it's a double-edged sword, guys. The relationship thing in shows can be a double-edged sword. If you focus on it, and you can do a whole episode on a relationship thing, but not like every single episode. It has to focus on the drama between these two characters that are like, oh, should I or should I not date him or her? That kind of thing. But you could do a whole episode. And then, yes, I know, there have been entire animes and other shows based on relationships. But that's kind of what the plot is. I'm not referring to those. I know that's the demographic. The love animes or the love cartoons, or, the TV dramas and whatnot. I'm referring to action cartoons. I'm referring to those. When it's not when the relationship thing is not the demographic for, a lot of love and whatnot. And again, this is why I'm going to bring back up Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because again, it focuses on all the characters, not like, oh, is Clint gonna hook up with Janet? Or Janet and Hank gonna hook up? We know what's gonna happen, but they don't need to focus on. What they need to focus on is the Kree-Skrull War, and that's what they're doing. So, more or less there's that. And yes, I know I've kind of just gone on a total rant, and my sincerest apologies, but Melina did made up a very good point when we were talking about this. And again, like I said, and I've said this multiple times throughout the video, I do love these shows. Don't get me wrong. I love these shows, but I have to call what I see it. I have to call it as I see it, basically. But do I hate the shows for it? It bugs me, I'll give you that, but I don't hate it. But yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope this wasn't too big of a rant. But yeah, you guys tell me what you think, and I'm out.